Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome interestingly to part 3. I didn't intend it to be part 3, but it is, because my computer decided to explode, and I have about 15 minutes before I have to go do metadating. So we're going to have a typical part 1 for this show, kind of a short part 2, and then kind of a nice length part 3. Let's hop back into it. This is the part where I was at, where we were watching Supernova. Just be nice and calm and stable. And just be taking these expansions. We saw some stuff with the Banshees go up to the top, some interesting harassment, stuff like this. And again, I want to note that even though this might have looked overall bad, this is a nice spot to be in as Terran, where your opponent only has fungals to be able to deal with your Banshees. And look at that, every single one of these infestors eats it. Though I'd prefer to do slightly more than lose all our Banshees. There is no way a Zerg player can possibly deal with us. Now here comes the mistake to end all mistakes. For frick's sake, don't do this. Don't get this overeager, because if you are unsieged once, watch the supply count. Totally destroyed in seconds, like it could even be on that Discovery Channel show. Destroyed in seconds. As we zoom through, I will note that 4 siege tanks spread out can kill basically infinity roaches. With ease. With ease. Wherever our starport may be, it's now equipped to build Vikings, but prior to this, we could just as easy be building more Banshees. But because we saw a hive, that's our trigger. It's just like playing a regular game, except when we're going Marine tank and we transition to Viking. Except here, we're going tank, or Thor, and then we transition into Viking. Now, I'll pause here, and I've been doing a lot of describing what. Let me describe a general why. Our big goal as a meching player is to have more than half the more than half the expansions. You want to just be slowly gobbling up expansions. Sure, it's fine if you can do an attack timing and win. And there will be times for that. But I want to emphasize that all we really have to do is play passive once we have an expansion lead. We're doing these nice scanny guys. We're happy to just calmly take more bases. This 3-3 is quite late from Supernova, considering how early he started 1-1. Do try to get the 3-3 up ASAPly. But never too many tanks. Never, ever, ever do we want too many tanks. Thors are better pound for pound against the variety that Zerg will be throwing at you. If he's going Roach and you kill it with a bunch of tanks, then he'll replenish with a whole bunch of mutas and kill you off. And you would never replenish with mutas against Marines, so a lot of people don't consider it. But against mech, smart anti-meching players will do that.
Add-on complete.
So, I'm going to slightly rearrange the daily content a little bit. I'm going to X8 this bad boy. We see Endless Harass, and all Supernova really has to do is take this base and wait for Zerg to come to him. It is actually okay to never attack with mech, and just to build up Ravens with Seeker missiles. It's going to work oh so good. And then we wait for Zerg to engage us at not so good angles. Even with Neural Parasite, we can take it out quite easily. Moreover, I will note that if he goes for very fast Neural Parasite, you have Banshees. So you're in good shape. In the interest of time, I'm just going to end this. Vortex loses in like 3 minutes just by attacking and failing and attacking and failing. Ha! Alright, rushing into the next game. Here we go. This game is between MVP and Violet. Here's a reasonable question. We've seen Mech look nice and stable and fine. But what if he goes for any early aggression? Let's look at how to respond to that. This is from MVP, who many of you know is the best Terran player in the entire fucking world. Come on, Day 9, you can do this. So again, note, Command Center first. We don't have to. We can go Barracks, Command Center, whatever we want. There'll be a little bit of frame droppage as I blast on through this. But let's go to the MVP camp. What are those early threats that they could be doing to us? Well, they could be going for lots of roaches, lings, banelings, all that good jazz. We're throwing guys in our gas geysers and going straight for the Hellion Banshee. And I will note Be a little careful building this third command center. It's easy to build it too fast, but Hellions require a lot of money, especially in terms of building the supply depots. MVP has really not done too much scouting, but the instant he moves out, he runs right in to a bunch of roaches. This is about as threatening an attack as you will ever have. Now watch how poorly this goes for MVP, seemingly. Here's the real strength of Hellion Banshee. We don't have the right units to deal with it, but we're going to do our best. I'll even turn the health bars on temporarily, so we can see all these roaches from Violet doing real great. MVP even queuing up Banshees like crazy. We've lost a good bit of workers. But as long as we buy time for that Banshee to pop out, and make sure we don't sacrifice too many Hellions. See how MVP is doing some micro? You don't want to suicide against the roaches, because if he floods in with Zerglings, then you actually are dead. But the Banshee just slowly cleans up. We're comfortable getting our SCVs in there. And again, looks really bad for us. But here's the fact. Here's the fact at 8 minutes. Actually, health bar is what I want off. And there we go. Here's the factual situation that we are in at 8 minutes. One of two things will be true. He will either continue to barrel down at us and try to win right there, or two, he will stop and let up and just kind of chill and start trying to go for a big macro game. Notice that in the case of, actually in the case of one, if he keeps trying to barrel down at us and kill us, we just slowly are getting more Banshees. We're actually able to afford Cloak. Despite all that, we're able to afford Cloak, and we should get it. But we just blast out more Banshees. And then what's going to happen? Soon enough, no matter how much damage he does, he's going to have to stop. Because you have too many Banshees. Anything he sends in gets gobbled up right away. Then what? When you counter push, he can only physically have Queens and Spores, and you can do a ton of damage with 5 Banshees. So you'll be in pretty good shape. We only have more like 4 or so, but that's in the case if he keeps attacking. So now you're great. The second thing is that if he starts to try to build up, he's still going to have a lot of trouble against this composition. So remember in the last game where I talked about, oh, Hellion Banshee can stop creep spread. Hellion Banshee can do this and that. One of the big things I said was the first one we can put pressure on if we so see it possible. You'll note that as we come up here, we have the Evo chambers now going down. I'll even come to the all view for a moment and come back to right when this attack was happening. Here we have the roaches are... Where are the roaches? Oh, there they are. Found them. Didn't see them on the minimap. Haha. Look at Violet's position over the next few minutes. He gets 1 round, and he makes some drones. Cool. He's able to make 1 round of drones, and then his attack... He starts a layer, and... Alright, we're back to where we were before. Violet just does not really have that much. He literally built like 9 roaches, and then that was it. He did like as light and early pressure as he possibly could. So there's not that much that's living back here at Camp Violet. He maybe could have spent some extra on roaches, but if he just built like 4 more roaches, he'd be down to 34 drones. He would really not have that many. So MVP is going to be able to do a pretty decent amount of damage before he has to like turn around and retreat. I mean, he didn't obliterate a mass number of drones, but he did a pretty good job. And once these cloaked Banshees show up, that's when it's a real nightmare for Violet. And this is the way that this will look normally. Notice there's really nothing else going on other than Hellion Banshee. We get this tech lab on the barracks just in case, so we can get some Marauders up. But this is so clean! This is so clean. Violet's trying to go for that Spire, all that jazz. Again, if anything moves out into the middle, we just kill it really easily. Now, I'll note something that's slightly different. In the last game, where we saw a 3-basing player, we were able to take our 3rd command center quite quickly. Or in other words, if we're not touched, we can take our 3rd command center kind of quickly. In this game, where we were touched, well, we saw him with a frickin' layer, we see a Spire going up, so we're going to do the same formation. 2 factories, instant armory. But we're a little bit behind on our third command center. No big deal. We're just doing a slight rearrangement of the same thing I was talking about last time. Oh, and if your opponent does early aggression, get a Viking. You will kill so many overlords so easily. It is the man. Oh, and of course, continue to run Hellions in to buy yourself more time. But again, don't go too nuts with the Hellion run-ins. You don't want to be Hellionless. That's one thing that's nice about Banshees against a two-basing player. You can run the Banshee up here, see stuff, and then make a judgment call. And now suddenly, MVP is ahead. Just from having killed off workers, and again, this is quite common. But MVP sets himself up nicely.
Your forces
Still continuing to poke and prod with the Hellions. Still keeping the Banshees back to deal with any roaches. Thors deal with the rest. And notice that this attack is the same as the one we saw in the last game. The instant he's harassing us with with Mutalisks, that makes our Hellions a lot stronger because his Mutalisks are nowhere nearby to defend. So, the simple statement is that if your opponent does big Ling Roach aggression at the start, your Hellion Banshee has the ability to do lots more damage. And then MVP, like a big boss, just moves out, kills his opponent, and then he's in good shape. Yeah, alright, yeah. So I'm going to show one more game as quickly as I can. And then I'm going to go do some metadating. Alright, Staley's packed. Alright. The one thing that I wanted to note to conclude this little intro to TvZ MECH, which tragically was cut short by a crashing computer, we're now going to hop in to this game between MVP and Vortex. A reasonable question. Do I have to go Hellion Banshee? No, of course you don't. You can do anything that helps put pressure on your opponent early on. Oh, I guess we do have Command Center first in this game. There was another game I wanted to show, but in the interest of time, alack alas, I cannot. So, you want to do something that both puts pressure on your opponent, but also buys you a lot of time. So what we're going to see out of MVP is he's going to go Gas Factory, Gas, and then Pectory. There he is. Now, this move is really kick-ass. Vortex comes in, and what does Vortex see? Vortex sees a tech lab on a barracks and a factory about to go down. This looks like a player who's going to go Hellion and then transition into a fast stim. MVP just did that little fake before going into exactly what he wanted to. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? But yeah, we're just going to go Blue Flame Hellion en masse, and we're going to get Medevacs to drop him. That's all we're going to do. And then note that we still get our third command center. We're still going to go for 2 armories in a little bit. We still go for our 2 refineries around 8:30-ish. But the one thing I'll note about this Hellion play that MVP does... Oh, by the way, see? 2 armories, 2 gases will be coming up. And this is great. But your Hellions should still be focusing more on controlling space and buying time. If you do this... and you lose all your Hellions with Blue Flame having killed off 1 worker, then things are not looking very frickin' good now, are they? Oh man, so ugly. Turn off overlay. So yeah, we even get our medevac drop. This isn't really going to do very much, but still, we're going to go for our 3rd factory with a tech lab. We will be beginning our 1-1. We'll be making a Thor first. And we're going to just cry ourselves to sleep with deeply embarrassing thoughts of our frickin' Hellion play. Notice that this expansion has not been affected basically at all. Le sigh, le sigh. And as a result, as MVP comes in here and tries to kill off as best he can, he tragically does the damage a little bit too late, and his Thor production starts a little bit late. And everything in the whole wide world just comes out late, and he doesn't have enough damage, and it's all tragic and stuff. And Vortex just builds a whole bunch of frickin' roaches and kills MVP. What I will also note is that if you are going for this play, get the damn Banshees up. Even though they're like late Banshees. Banshees are just good with mech. They're just really, really, really good with mech. Like, really good. Notice what happens. Remember that attack? This is the same attack we saw Vortex do against Supernova. Supernova smacked it around like a baby rampaging at him with a plastic toy. Just swatted it right out of the sky, thanks to the Banshees. But here, it just gets rolled on. Rolled on over. Rolled on over, baby. Do, 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 do. Now, part of the reason this crushed MVP so easily is that MVP threw away like a million billion units for nothing. That's part of the reason. We should do a little more damage. But also, because we didn't have Banshees and our production was Hellions for a little too long. Now, I will note that it is... Let me see if I have it in my email. It is 7:56. In 5 minutes, I have my show on Felicia Day's YouTube channel, Geek and Sundry. Hey yo, what is the public link to the Hangout? So I can tweet it, and I can say it live on air. Well, here, I'll just state it like this because I have to go there right now. I'm going to be tweeting it at twitter.com/day9tv. I'm going to be doing a show with my two friends where we're going to play through romantically themed video games and talk about them on air. Yes! And the first one we're beginning with is Hatoful Diary. Or excuse me, Hatoful Boyfriend, where I'm going to be in a school for magically gifted birds. Yeah! Trying to date them birds. Sorry for the lack of Q&A, my comp crashed. Listen to some beats for 30 seconds before I sign out.